employees for taking time off and caring for families.
Mr. Maldonado, Ms. Hunt, I hope you don't mind. I'll click on mute all. You can just unmute yourself again.
Sure.
Okay.
Mr. Maldonado, Ms. Hunt, I hope you don't mind. I'll click on mute all. You can just unmute yourself.
I guess they didn't want to hear us talking, Steve.
Apparently not, even though I heard it repeat on Mr. Martin.
Okay, the other thing I'm concerned about is that some of the principals were telling staff to go ahead and use their FMLA, but not really telling them, that it's unpaid. So they need to make sure that they understand that.
Yeah, the employee has a choice of whether or not to take it unpaid or to use leave.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. They need to be told that or explained to that a little bit more thoroughly than telling them if they don't want to come back to work because of the COVID, that they can take FMLA, but they have to be told it's unpaid.
Well, FMLA, you have to get approved for it though, Ms. Hunt Daly. You have to actually write your reason and send it to the HR office, and Mr. Toivanen reviews all of the requests, right? And because there's a certain qualification. So like when I had to take care of my mother, I couldn't just take the time off. I actually had to request the FMLA leave, but you have to give a short reason, very short, but he approves that. So it does go through HR first.
Okay, yeah. Well, I just wanted to make sure that that all our staff understands that, because now they're being they're going to have to, I guess, make a decision whether they go in or not. So.
Yes.
And how will you how will they classify that? Will they be requiring them to resign if they don't want to go in, or be allowed to teach from home?
That's a question for Mr. Toivanen.
Just hoping you could tell me a shortcut.
Safe answer.
Okay, well, I guess we can get back to the meeting.
Yeah, I don't have the
kick us off again.
details for that one. Yeah.
There's not a big crowd.
Okay.
Hello,
You
Miss
guys
Hunt.
hear me now?
You're there.
I'm
Hello.
here.
I like that background.
Oh, thank you. That's my history.
Yeah.
That's because I want to watch TV while you guys are talking.
But he's this introduced the board. He's the only one.
Throwing McGee.
McGee?
McGee.
McGee?
McGee. Okay.
McGee?
McGee. Got it. Got it. Richard Jones won't be with us tonight. Okay. I think the snowstorm's coming in. He got stuck in Texas and then. Yeah, we're supposed to get the dump tonight, I think.
Where am I? All right, where am I?
Did you get something to eat?
I'm eating salad. Oh,
I was gonna, you want me to warm me up the, those chicken wings or the,
You go. Good. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Call the meeting to order at 5:30. Let's stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Dr. Guy Rochambeau,
Here.
Dr.
Here.
Guy,
Here.
thank you. Emily Hunt Daly,
Here,
Richard Jones, Richard Jones, John Sandoval,
Present.
Ron Ortiz,
Here. Adoption of agenda, Superintendent Perez, your recommendation, if there's any changes.
Good evening, Mr. President. Good evening, board members, people, audience. Mr. President, I recommend that we approve the adoption of the agenda as is.
Okay, need a motion tonight?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Sandoval. Need a second?
Second.
By Mr. Archambault. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Adoption of the minutes. Superintendent Perez.
Mr. President, board, I recommend that we adopt the minutes of February 2nd as presented.
Need a motion?
So move.
Motion by Mr. Sandoval. Need a second?
Again, second.
Second by Mr. Guy. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Guy. Superintendent Perez, recognitions tonight.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, board, this evening we have a student with us from Laguna Acoma High School. Are you here? And Mr. Sanchez, I believe, wants to say a few words. Mr. Jackie Sanchez, I'll let you do the introduction.
Okay. So, Mr. President, Mr. Pettis, board, we have a student, Lene Trivio. I don't know if she's on here or not. I just talked to her a while ago. She was gonna be logging in.
She's not yet on, sir.
She's not on yet. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do an introduction of her. So Lene is one of our students that did not meet the graduation requirements at the end of the last school year, but she came back during this first semester. And even during COVID, in a time when she couldn't be on face-to-face, when she struggled with all the same thing all the other students struggle with being online, virtual learning, connectivity, all those issues, she was able to still meet those requirements, catch herself up, and graduate now in this last December. So if she gets back on here and we're able to meet with her, then we've been trying to work this out where we can have her on here, but everything's kind of been in the way. But I still want to make sure that we recognize Miss Trivio and her accomplishments. So if she does log in, if it's possible that we have an opportunity to congratulate her, I want to make sure that we do that. And I also want to express that, we talked about the negativities of virtual learning. This is a positive. This is something that could not have happened had we not had the resources the district provided, had we not given Chromebooks, had we not given all those things that we did, we were able to show success. And this is a success story of a student who overcame everything and was successful in graduating and meeting that graduation requirements. She plans on looking for a job and helping out the family with the income and through this hard time. So I think it says a lot about her character. So I don't think she's still on here, but I still want to introduce her and hopefully she'll come back on later and we'll have that opportunity. So thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for recognizing this student and always supporting Laguna Acoma Junior Senior High School.
Mr. President, let's do that when she comes on.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Guy. Oh, one more. Okay, citizens to address the board. Remember, we're going to allow you 5 minutes. And remember that the board cannot respond to any of your questions or your comments. But if there's any concerns, Superintendent Perez will get with you. Is there anyone tonight, Superintendent?
Yes, sir, Mr. President, board, we have Mr. Troy McGee.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, board and attendees. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your time today. I wanted to introduce an idea. Affordable Solar has a solar energy for New Mexico schools program where we provide a free, no obligation cost benefit analysis for New Mexico schools, where we've already qualified that there should be good cost savings with electrical utility. We do this because we feel that a lot of New Mexico public organizations may not have a recent analysis of how savings can work for their organization. We feel that awareness is the biggest problem solving for more of this work getting done. And we think providing these no obligation cost benefits helps solve that challenge. In this, we provide we strive to have a collaborative partnership with the school district, align with the school's goals. Often a key goal to having success is that it provides the school district savings. And that'll be one of the first things that we evaluate and provide feedback on. Often there is not savings. And sometimes this exploration just ends there at evaluating that there's not savings. And that's, it's a short process in that time. Just to introduce a little bit about Affordable Solar. Affordable Solar was established in 1998. We're headquartered here in New Mexico. We are the leader in solar installation and battery storage installation in the Southwest. We're ranked 26th largest solar installer in the United States. And we do have a focus in serving New Mexico and giving back to the municipalities, schools, electric utilities, and businesses and homeowners here. We have seen that there's no other installer in the state that has the experience, the know-how, reliability, processes, and purchasing power to save organizations like yours in the way that we are able to. About the cost benefit analysis that we'd like to provide for the school district, we feel that it fits well with the mission statement for your school district. Every student, every day, building a person for life. We believe that it stimulates interest in STEM, the science, technology, engineering, mathematics for students. We believe it prepares students for good New Mexico jobs. I estimate that there'll be nearly 5,000 new jobs in solar, and that's there'll be other good renewable energy jobs in New Mexico, and that's over the next 5 years. It's an industry that's really going to grow. We believe we have an educated hypothesis that it'll save the grants Cibola County school system money. And we believe it's also good stewardship for the environment. If we want to leave the children a good education, we want to leave them a good, healthy environment to inherit as well. And a lot of the savings that what we anticipate are made possible because the state of New Mexico has the Public Facility Energy Efficiency and Water Conservation Act. And in there, the state provides some protections and guarantees for public organizations that enter into these, that do energy savings projects like solar. For example, Silver City, Alamogordo, Deming, Truth or Consequences, Bernalillo County are just some of the organizations that we've worked with. These organizations do have a guaranteed savings that's measured by the state. These organizations together, their savings is over $1 million over the terms of their agreements. We've also started an early analysis for the Village of Milan. The analysis that we're in the process of for Milan, right now we're estimating a $1 million savings for that village over the next 30 years. And then what we would like to request, or what we ask from the school board and your members, is that we'd like to work with a volunteer from the school district to be a coordinator with us. This could be a board member, a staff member, a teacher, a student, or a parent. But we don't think it's going to be worth anyone's time unless we have somebody to coordinate with the school district. And that's my purpose of our meeting with you today, is to ask to find somebody to coordinate with. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for your time. The superintendent has my contact information, And if possible, I'll share it in the text messages of this Zoom meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Troy McGee. Presentations tonight, Mr. Perez.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President, board members, audience. The presentation we have this evening is from the STAR team, recently developed team group and I won't talk about the details. I want to turn it over to Raina, but just STAR originally stood for Staff Taking Action to Keep Students Rising. And this was developed to go out and find and support students through the COVID crisis. So with that, I'm turning it over to Ms. Sanchez.
Good morning or good afternoon, Mr. President, Mr. Perez, members of the board. It's been a long day. Hang on just a second. So recently we revamped our STAR team a little bit. We began the STAR team with some administrators and staff members, a couple of counselors, and some administrators from central office. We quickly realized that we were missing the key people at the schools that were in charge of attendance and or the early warning systems within each of the campuses. So we revamped a little bit and we included the attendance liaisons and the EWS personnel at each campus. And then we changed our focus to include the Attendance for Success Act from the state of New Mexico. I'm going to introduce our team and then I'll go over what we've been working on and what we've been doing. For Blue Water and San Rafael right now, we have Patty Lopez. She's also the counselor, and we're going to be hiring somebody to help her out there. For Cubero and Cebolleta, we have Monica Martinez and Imelda Notsway. For Grants High School, Brenda Trujillo and Grace Cunningham. Laguna Acoma Junior Senior High School, we have Erin Riley. At at Los Alamitos Middle School, we have Trish Garcia. At Mesa View, we have Donna Moore. At Milan, we have Danielle Atencio, who's also a counselor working in that position until we get that one filled. At Mount Taylor, we have Dustin Jaramillo. An admin that we have had through the whole thing is Jackie Sanchez. We have a parent, Miss Francie Lee. And we have the school attendance coordinator from Laguna Tribal Courts, which is Kristen Riley. And so all of these people play a really important role in the STAR team. They all have a different perspective that they come with to the team, and they bring great ideas throughout. I think most of them are here with us today too. So we switched up our plan a little bit, and so we follow the tiers of the Attendance for Success Act. The first tier of that act promotes good attendance throughout. So whether we're in school, in person, hybrid, or virtual, we're promoting good attendance. We're using positive behavior incentives for this, class competitions, robocalls with attendance reminders. So with this, we outlined what we needed to do right now, and that's just encourage great attendance in the virtual classroom and now in the hybrid classroom, and welcome students and families into our schools and classrooms consistently. The second tier is students that have more than 5% of an absentee rate, but less than 10% for any reason. So once the students are into the second tier, then we talk to families and parents individually, talk about the importance of attendance and regular attendance and the academic outcomes of attendance issues. We encourage students to participate in all the available interventions that we have, including some of the asynchronous learning on Wednesdays and tutoring on different days depending on which campus it is. Again, we asked ourselves, what do we need to do right now? And that's continue with the phone calls and encouraging participation in all of the interventions that we have available, and then welcoming students back to our schools and classroom. Tier 3 is when students have an absentee rate of 10% or more, but less than 20%. So that's our early intervention. So in addition to what we do for Tier 1 and Tier 2, families are notified in writing of a student's absenteeism. Within that notification, there's a time, date, and place for a parent meeting to meet with the attendance team at the school. And we'll include all of the strategies keeping the students involved in that planning and intervention as we go. We asked ourselves what we needed to do right now, and that's just notifying the students in writing of the planned meeting and keeping notes with the interventions that we have already documented. Once again, we're continuing to welcome students back into the schools and into the classroom. The last tier is more than 20% of an absentee rate, and that's intensive support. So in addition to everything that we've already done, we will also offer more support with the principal involved. And so the student, the parents, and the family will meet with the principal along with the original team and establish non-punitive consequences at the school level. Some extra time on Wednesdays to get caught up, some tutoring time also offered as was before. Then those specialized supports will help to identify what the underlying issues of the absenteeism are, and we'll work with students individually to make sure that those needs are met. So we asked ourselves what we needed to do right now, and that was to notify the family of the meeting with the school personnel and the principal, and then keep notes of the interventions and continuing to welcome the students back to the school and to the classrooms. So after the tier 4 is where there's the CYFD notification that is made, and we go through there. We go through the process for the CYFD only if we can't get a hold of families and it is academic neglect. So this is where we are right now. Teams, each team has a list. Each team at the campus has a list. They're working on tiering those lists from 1 to 4. The tier 3 are identified. Most of these have already been identified since the first month of school, from the first couple of weeks of school. So these interventions are already in place and they're being documented in a more organized way. And then tier 4 students have already been contacted. They're attempting to contact them, and meetings are being scheduled. We're hiring additional support personnel at campuses that don't already have somebody. And we're continuing to leverage our support from Engage New Mexico, from the Laguna and Acoma Departments of Education, and from the Baca Pruitt chapter in Navajo Nation that's offered their support as well. We've identified numbers. I don't have numbers yet because I have numbers from some campuses. So I can give you the ones that I have right now, but some of our schools are doing double duty.
Just continue.
Next step.
Yeah, that's fine. We can get them later on.
We'll get those.
Okay.
Continue.
We're going to continue to work towards increasing student attendance and connecting the families that are not already connected. And we're going to work towards increasing student engagement in the classroom. We're going to continue to assist families with internet connectivity. I think we're down to less than 60 that need internet connectivity at this time. And Raquel is working on getting those connected to the homes. And we're going to monitor attendance rate for hybrid alongside with the virtual learners. Some of the successes that we've seen. So the total number of students that have dropped since the beginning of this school year is 282. 120 of those students have re-enrolled. Principals and attendance liaisons have been meeting with families and helping them get reconnected. Every day we have more. I know that number 120 is going to go up pretty soon, at least 10. We have campuses that are waiting to enroll because of state reporting. Engage New Mexico has also helped us to reconnect with students and make those phone calls. And the community supports have been working with GCCS as well. The challenges that we continue to have are not being able to get a hold of students and incorrect student information. Sometimes home visits are not possible, so we do welfare checks. Sometimes we can't get into certain areas to do home visits, but we have other avenues that we're using for that. And then sometimes the families won't answer our calls. So I do have a few numbers for you, just to kind of give you an idea. Some of our larger elementary schools have reported, and stop this. And they're at about between their level three, their tier 3 and tier 4, they're right about 15% of their students are at a tier 3 or a tier 4. And so just to give you an example, that's 67 students at one campus. And so we're working hard to get them connected. I know the frustration that the campuses feel, but they're not showing the frustration. They're working right through, and they're leveraging every support that we have. The Laguna attendance liaison there has been really helpful to us. The Acoma Department of Education has been very helpful to us as well. We have one contact through the Navajo Nation that's been very helpful to Mount Taylor especially. And so we're finding ways. It's unprecedented, and it's not always going to be like this, but the teams at each campus are working really hard to find ways to break through and to get to students. And so I think 120 students re-enrolling after they've dropped is a good number to start with to come back. And I know that number is growing every day. That's what we have for you right now. If anybody has any questions, I will be getting numbers. As soon as I have a complete list from every campus and those lists are tiered, I'll break those down for you and I'll get them out.
And that's the only question I had was about numbers. When later on, give another presentation and give some numbers, it'd be really interesting.
I can get those for you, Mr. Sandoval. The other part of that is that they're changing constantly. So as we have more students that are getting connected, they're falling from tier 4s to tier 3s and to tier 2s, which is what we want. And so that number changes as we're in school more days. So we're seeing successes. It takes time, but we're seeing it.
Superintendent Perez, I have a couple of questions for Ms. Sanchez. We did have some concern about the attendance for, I think I was given information, there are about 5 seniors from Laguna Acoma that are in danger of not graduating. That list was sent to Ms. Kristen Riley. And nothing, have you heard anything about that? Or how engaged is she with the attendance? And then also with this internet issue, we have a number of students that could benefit from having, I guess you have funds to provide internet service for them. And so are we pursuing that, or what do we need to do something to help
I can answer
these students?
I can answer on both of those. For those 5 students, 5 of the 5 have now been contacted. I contacted 2, and Kristen Riley was able to contact 3 of them. And so they've already been connected back to their classes. She was very helpful with that. So I thank her for that. For the internet connectivity on Thursday afternoon, or Friday, I guess it was, I spoke to the utility authority through Sean Ray. So I was able to contact Mr. Ray, and he was able to contact them. And so we got that connection made back to Raquel Whitebird with technology. And so I think that we're on our way there. She's also been able to contact, Raquel can specify exactly what provider it was, but there was another internet provider that was able to connect some homes. And so they are calling every day to connect more and more families through internet through their home rather than a jetpack or a hotspot.
Now, that internet connection, is that specifically just for GCCS students or any Laguna student or Acoma student that requests internet service?
I'd like to jump in there, Mr. President, Ms. Hunt Daly. There's some work that's just begun because we were just made aware of the additional CARES money. It's now called CARISA funds that will be available. And tomorrow we have a planning date, and part of the money we would like to use to help out with the internet connectivity for GCCS students only. And the part of that is at least Ms. Whitebird and I began the discussion about a week ago, and we had some more discussion today. Anybody utilizing that service would have to commit to the district guidelines and the firewalls and so on and so forth, so that we can provide the students with the service and still not leave ourselves open to any kind of liability with that. But that's in the works, Ms. Hunt Daly. We will be working. We'll have some information for the board at the next meeting.
Okay, and then one last request, Ms. Sanchez, could you send me or email me a list of the STAR team? I was trying to print it, but it wouldn't let me print it, so
Yes, we can do that.
thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes, Dr. Guy.
Mr. Perez, would you explain the CARES funding? The CARISA funding?
Yes, sir. So we're going to do the full package next board meeting, but we received the CARES money, which was about $1.2 million. Mr.
Oh, the CARES
Maldonado
money.
chime in.
CARES.
That's the CARES money.
Okay, I thought you said CARES.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Now the second, CARES money. Now the second round is CRRSA, and where they're referring to that as CARISA money. That we are receiving approximately, I've been seeing it in writing, but I believe it's in the amount of $6.6 million for COVID-related expenses. So it's a large amount of money, and we will put it to use. And that, like I said, we have some planning, or initial planning for expenditures of that, and there will be a full report to the board at the next board meeting.
Thank you. Ms. Hunt Daly was mentioning a possible challenge when you have multiple students in the home. Some may not be enrolled with the district. Is that what you were referring to, Ms. Hunt Daly?
Yes, because because of our excuse me, number of families, different families live in one household. Would that prevent them from I'm really sorry, using the internet link?
Okay. So from what I understand, Ms. Hunt Daly, Mr. President, the internet service would be provided to the home, and then the criteria is that student is in the home. Now, beyond that, I might need some help from Ms. Whitebird, but I believe that whoever gets on that internet service, anybody in the home would have to abide by the rules that are set up around that internet connection. But we wouldn't be able to tell if it's a GCCS student on there or not. Ms. Whitebird, can you share a little bit about that? Mr. President, that's all right. That's fine.
Isn't there like a certain amount of data for each hotspot? So if more than one person or so many students, if the whole family's on it, doesn't it utilize it a little bit faster? So they get cut off.
And sometimes we have to we provided from 2 to 3 hotspots for one home. But this particular one, I think we're talking about
Not
the
a hotspot.
link, direct service. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So-
not a hotspot.
An
How
actual, not a direct, an actual internet service
okay.
provider. Yeah.
And
Mr.
what-
Raquel Piper.
What are the gigabytes allowed per link, I guess? Because I know they come at different levels.
Mr. President, why don't we let the district administration get us all the technical details and then communicate that back to the public and to the tribes.
So, and I miss just the quick answer is I don't believe that there's any limitations. Of course, it depends on the area and how much bandwidth they can get out to the homes. But we're not looking at at least any intentional limitations on the bandwidth?
Mr. Perez?
Yes, sir.
Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Perez?
Is that
I was fine. I wasn't able to unmute my mic. I apologize for that. So you had a question about the internet service to the home. Can you ask it again?
Yes, yeah, the question was, Ms. Swipert, is that if we have other students besides GCCS students in the home, anybody who got on that computer, I don't know if we would be able to realize who's actually on the computer. And if they did get on, they have to abide by the restrictions, rules, guidelines of the programs that we install. And also the other question alongside that is, what about bandwidth issues? We're not going to have any issues with bandwidth like we did with, limitations like we do with hotspots.
Right. We are, unfortunately, we are limited to the bandwidth that a provider can give us in that certain area. Some do perform better in certain areas. So we may face a limitation in that area. The more students and people who connect to that connection. We are looking at getting firewalls into the home to manage the internet connection, so we make sure that we're fully compliant with SIPA filtering. Anyone connecting to that will, of course, be filtered as well. We don't control the applications that are installed on anyone's computer based on that internet connection. So they will be filtered with our firewall eventually. So that it doesn't limit the student or connections to the firewall. So a student from another district can potentially use that same connection. They'll just be filtered as well.
Any other comments, questions from the board?
No questions.
Thank you, Raquel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ortiz,
Yes,
our student is on, Miss Lene Toribio.
yes.
The student is on now.
Oh, okay, sorry. I couldn't understand you, so no problem. We have the student is ready to be on. Are you there now?
Mr. Sanchez, Jackie Sanchez, would you reintroduce?
And
Love
have her,
to. So,
have her turn on her camera.
where are you? Linnea, are you there? Go ahead and turn your camera on, and you can even unmute yourself. I'm gonna kind of say a little more about what I said about you and how you, even through COVID and all the obstacles that were in front of you with online learning and all things, you still were able to get yourself going, get yourself motivated, get through that first semester and meet all the requirements for your diploma. And so, to be honest, this is being a principal of a new school that I don't get to see students. This is the first time you guys get to see Linnea, and this is my first time getting to see Linnea. And so, Linnea, congratulations. I just want to tell you how proud we are of you, Laguna Acoma. And the thing that you've done is not something everybody was able to do. We had a lot of students in your situation, and you were very successful. I'm very proud of you, and we will always be here for you from now on. And if you ever need anything, you can always come back to Laguna Acoma and become a teacher one day. And we have plenty of positions for you so you can become a teacher, because you show what hard work can do for somebody. So, Linnea, I give you to the board.
Thank you.
Did you have any comments?
Yeah, Linnea, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi everybody, I am from the Acoma Reservation and I lived here for a couple years, and I've now graduated from Laguna Acoma.
Your parents?
Yes, just my father.
Miss Linnea, what did you find the most challenging part of your finishing up?
It's like basically doing everything on the computer and like trying to like rely on Wi-Fi. Like that was the hardest part for me.
Well, thank you and congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Lene.
Thank
And
you.
we look forward to your future successes. So keep in touch with us and let us know when your next success arrives.
Okay.
Yes, there are a lot of people watching you right now. So we all applaud you. And we appreciate your effort and continue on with what it is that you're going to be doing for yourself. Just be strong and sustain yourself. And we will look forward to having you do great things for yourself and for your family, for Acoma. Go ahead.
Thank you, Lene Sorribio. Good luck to you in your endeavors, and we're happy for your accomplishments. Thank you again.
Gume, Joey
Okay.
Schatz, go.
Action item. Superintendent Perez, I'm gonna turn it over to you. Consideration of approval of the NMSU grants operating agreement.
Yes. So, Mr. President, Board, this action item is the consideration approval of the New Mexico State University grants operating agreement between the New Mexico State University Board of Regents and the Grand Cibolo County Schools School Board. And I do recommend approval of this operating agreement. And we have here with us Dr. Toivanen and also Dr. Van Winkle. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members and attendees. Thank you for allowing us to be on the agenda this evening and considering the operating agreement between grants and NMSU Board of Regents. We know how important that an education is, and Linea's example was a great example of how important it is that we continue to provide as much education to the citizens of Cibolo County and that region of our state. And NMSU wants to be a part of that promise to those students. And so we're very grateful to be associated with NMSU grants.
Motion.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Van Winkle. Need a motion for tonight's action meeting? Need a motion? Motion by Mr. Sandoval. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Guy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, consent agenda, Superintendent Perez.
Thank you.
Your recommendation.
Mr. President. And thank you, Mr. Dr. Van Winkle, Dr. Toivanen. It's always nice working with you all and the community partners, and look forward to remaining partners for a long time.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. President, thank you very much, board members. And I can't wait for the COVID to disappear so I can come back up to grants. I look forward to visiting with you in person. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. It'd be a lot easier when we're not Zooming. It's hard to hear sometimes, so.
Consent.
Okay, consent agenda, Superintendent Perez, your recommendation.
Yeah, Mr. President, Board, I do recommend approval of the consent agenda items as presented.
Need a motion? Motion by Mr. Sandoval. Need a second?
Second, this guy, Dr. Guy.
Second by Dr. Guy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Superintendent's report, Mr. Perez.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, Board. So before I get into the item there, just wanted to share that legislative session is well in progress. As everybody knows, we're watching a few of the bills, and I'd like to share some of that information a little bit. Well, soon additional 10 days calendar. K5 plus is still being discussed there. Transportation salaries are being discussed. The hold harmless for the drop in student numbers looks like we're we're faring well with that. And now there's also discussion of a slightly higher than 1% raise for teachers. That's also in the mix. So we're just keeping our eyes on it. There's not too much that's definite right now at this point. But with that, I'd like to share the Blue Water design progress. At the last meeting, I did mention that Mr. Vance Lee, who's our Director of Facilities and Operations, he and I were at a Saturday meeting with the PSFA, the public schools. Oh, actually, it was a PSCOC that we met with the council there. And the purpose of that meeting was for us to continue the funding and progress for the Blue Water Elementary School. So we, and we spoke a little bit, and I think Mr. Lee might give some more detail here, but the school now is a little over 22,000 square feet. The new school that was being proposed dropped all the way down to a little over 14,000 square feet. So we went back to the council with support of some of our local legislators who helped us drive that number back up. We were asked for and pushed for a facility that would hold about 120 students. We were not successful with the 120, but we did make it as far as 102 students. So that's a pretty good jump from where we were being told that we needed to be at that point. And then also the good news for that is that we're leaving the door open for there's some additional bid pieces that we can add to grow up to that number. I have to say that as I mentioned, it was an uphill battle because we are asking and proposing for a facility to house 120 students, where right now with the COVID and the plant closings and everything, we're down to actually 67 students. So we're asking for a lot in their eyes, but we know that we're going to get the students back, and we know that the economy is going to get better. And we know that with a good instructional program that we will attract students back to the school. And with that, I'd like to, Mr. Lee, would you want to give any details on the design progress?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Perez. Mr. President, members of the board, and Mr. Perez. You have in your board pack about a nine-page document that is actually the program submittal that we submitted to the PSFA for their approval so that we could continue with schematic design. And we're working with the PSFA and our architects are FBT Architects out of Albuquerque. They've done a really good job with the programming. And like Mr. Perez said, we at one point were around 15,000 square feet. We've worked with the council and with the PSFA staff, and we've got that up to 18,171 square feet for 102 students. We're still working with the council and the PSFA. Right now, the way we have it programmed, we anticipate 2,188 gross square feet above adequacy. And right now, under the programming rules and the language we have to use, that's above adequacy that would be on our own. However, during the schematic design phase, the team will determine what spaces can be included in the above adequacy area and how these are divided into separate bid lots for construction, for procurement during construction. So right now we're really shooting for somewhere around 20,000 square feet, with the understanding that at this point in time we are approved by the state for 18,000 square feet, and we have a lot of work to be done. Tonight's presentation was not a part of action. There's no action required from y'all at this time. However, we are getting close to that point where we'll be having you all review the schematic design and the various systems and the things that the design team, which is made up of district administrators and some parents and community members, out at Blue Water and then the Blue Water staff. So we'll be coming back to you, but we just want to keep you in the loop and keep you up to speed on where we're at and the progress that's being made. I'd answer any questions you might have. I don't want to take any more of your time on this. You do have the document, the actual document that we submitted to the PSFA, and so please feel free to review through that, and I'm sure Mr. Perez or I would be more than happy to answer any questions either tonight or down the road.
Okay, Mr. Perez, I do have a question. I got the documents and the drawings, and I'm trying to envision the size. Now, where in comparison is this? You said 18,000 square feet in comparison to 102 students, in comparison to, say, Cabero Elementary that has 300 and plus kids. And what square footage did we approve or did we build for that school?
I believe that one, Miss Daly, members of the board, I believe that one was around 50,000 square feet. I'd have to look that up. I could look that up and get that to you. But yeah, that one was for about 350 students. This one would be substantially smaller. As a matter of fact, it's smaller than right now. The design or the programming is for a smaller facility, gross square footage wise, than the existing facility at 23,000 square feet.
Okay, and you're also aware that that Cabero has outgrown their school already. And so did we learn anything from anticipating expected growth like you're doing? Like, well, I think you're saying you're doing that right now with the Blue Water design. You're anticipating or adding growth into the factor.
Yeah, Ms. Daly and members of the board, we do acknowledge, and that's why Mr. Perez and I have fought so hard with the council to recognize that even though our enrollment is at a certain point right now, historically speaking, the student enrollment has been as high as 116 kids just within the last 6 to 8 years. We do anticipate that to get back to that point, and that's why we're constantly in discussion with the PSFA office and the council themselves. They were real helpful in that they are still allowing us to go ahead and design that facility with the additional 2,188 square foot, so that when we do go out for bid for construction, and there's a possibility that we'll see that it's all within budget at that point anyway. And so we're planning for the best case scenario that we can imagine. The way of designing a base design and then having some bid lots, whether they're additional classrooms or larger classrooms. It's an idea that's actually being tried in other school districts with the PSFA within the last year. So we're kind of on the front end of a new way of looking at school construction and design and then construction. But it's not something that isn't being tried already with other school districts. So we're real hopeful that we will get a building that is sized adequately for the students. Another thing to keep in mind, the tear space, you'll read that in your documents. That's spaces that are not necessarily instructional, that might be mechanical rooms or hallways and some of that stuff. The current facility the calculation is that it's 35% of that building is tear spaces. It's a very inefficient building in layman's terms. The new facility and the way we do construction now, where we condense those spaces and try to get the most most bang for our buck, we're calculating this facility at 22% tear, which means the instructional spaces, the office spaces, they're going to seem larger than possibly what they're in right now. So we're real hopeful on that, and that's just the difference in building in the 1950s and building in the 2020s. So.
Okay, so in line with that, so my understanding is that PFASA will cover the entire cost according to the designs that we have in our packet? And that no additions or,
No, that's not entirely correct. In your packet, you'll see 18,171 square feet. That's what the Public School Capital Outlay Council has agreed and approved for them to fund 75% of construction. We're still going to fund 25% of construction for that portion. That's where we're at.
I'd like to add a little bit, Mr. President, board members. Ms. Hunt Daly, that's a good point that you bring up, because I've used that argument in our negotiations with PSCLC. I use Cubero as an example of, just sticking to the standard criteria that they have isn't always the best way to go, because I know that at Cubero immediately following the completion of the building, they found themselves short already. So that did come up, and I think just my experience, typically there seems to always be an over adequacy amount that the district is sometimes responsible for if you choose to make the facility whole at the beginning, at the completion of that initial project. So yes, we did learn from the Cubero experience, and we're hoping not to make those same kinds of mistakes. If they're called mistakes, I don't know, or just we need to further the negotiations till the finish line with this school, so that we don't end up having to patch things after the construction is already done.
but we
Thank
don't
you.
have, but we don't have the funds to go back and redo or repair those inadequacies at Cubero Elementary. Am I correct? Or we can't use these funds to go back and remedy those inadequacies right now?
Ms. Daly, we are currently working on some of those now. For example, the septic system that was, it was the old existing septic system out at Cubero that was cut out of the project. I believe because of funding, it was actually before I was here. But it is inadequate for that building. And so that's a project that we've got going on right now that we're trying to rectify that situation. Another thing that was done immediately following construction of that facility, the district, and once again, it was prior to me being employed by the district, but they built two additional classrooms onto that facility, and so that was part of rectifying some shortcomings that they had as well. So some of you might have greater detail about that situation than I.
Okay, all right then, thank you.
Superintendent Perez, I got a question. Has any of the state reps reached out to you in advance? I know that they've been concerned about the building of the facility. And have they given you any ideas of trying to get any kind of monies to try to stay at the current square footage at that facility?
Well, I do know that Representative Harry Garcia has been very involved in pushing to and talking to the leadership at PSCLC and PSFA to support our efforts to keep the school as large as possible. I can tell you that he's been right inside the conversations and helping us to get to that place where we want to be with the square footage. So he's been very involved. He's called me a few times. I think he's talked to Vance and I both a couple of times. And I do know that there's been conversation with him, and Patty Lundstrom, I believe, has also been part of the conversation. So we have, those are the legislators that I was referring to that were working to push the square footage up.
So there's still a possibility that the square footage can move up?
Well, only, so only in the way that, and Mr. Lee, this is called the bid spots, or I'm not sure what the language is on that.
Mr. Perez, members of the board, that would be bid lots and
Bid lots.
Like add alternates to a project.
So they left it when we ended the last conversation that Saturday. So they said, according to our criteria, we are only allowed to give you up to this amount, which is 102 versus 120 we're pushing for. But the way I perceived it is that we still have the option of moving that square footage up through these bid lots. So the door is not completely closed on it.
Mr. President.
Yes,
Mr. President,
Dr. Gadd.
just looking at the plan that Vance Lee was referring to. And this all is based upon our master plan, is it not, Mr. Lee? This is part of our master plan.
Dr. Archibald and members of the board, this plan is, well, the project, Blue Water project is definitely a part of the facility master plan. This conception, design, if you will, it is the beginning of a master plan for this facility. So we're still early. We're still very early in design, but I guess to answer your question, yes.
Okay.
Your question, yes.
Well, if I'm correct, the board approved a master plan based upon the assessment of need. And we are attempting to implement our master plan. And Blue Water was at the top, so to speak, in terms of a complete facility, if I recall. So if there are any changes to what it is that we need to expend respect to the district's own monies over and above the 25%, I would expect that the board would be apprised of that, and approval would be sought to consider expenditures using district funds to match the 2188 unless there's some special legislative funding that might be acquired. That's my assumption of how it works.
Sure, Dr. Archambault, members of the board, that's exactly the way that this process would work out. As we got into design and as we came to some conclusions, we would come to the board to make recommendations and would not move further until we had those approvals. So yeah, the board would definitely have the final say on anything, especially having to do with over adequacy funding.
Yeah, because we have a plan that I remember you presented to us in terms of expenditures per site and per projects. And we would probably want to review that to determine whether or not there's any changes to any of those, and get the administration's recommendation as to what we need to do. And that should come up in March. So I'm assuming all of this is going to have to play out in March, late February, March. Well, March.
Dr. Archambault, members of the board, I don't know the exact timeline of that. We're going to be in design here for a few months. So, but we'll keep you abreast of anything that we feel that Mr. Perez wants to recommend to the board. So
I'm confident that you guys will get it to us in a timely fashion so that we can all be on top of it properly. Thank you. Thank you.
You done? Super.
That's it. Thank you, Mr. President, board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent Perez. Announcements, you have them there on your agenda, future items. You can either send them to Superintendent Perez or myself. And I recommend we adjourn tonight. Need a motion.
So moved.
Okay. Moved by Dr. Guy, second by Dion. Roll call.
Dr. Guy Trumbo,
Aye.
Emily Hunt Daly. Emily Hunt Daly,
Emily Hunt.
Aye. Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
There's the
Jeff
unmute.
Madrigal,
Aye.
Ron Ortiz.
Yes. Meeting adjourned at 6:31. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening and be safe out there.
I don't think it will come. Adjourn the meeting.
They asked us to do